Hi, this is Rabbi Chaim Kaufman. Welcome to our 290th installment of the Torah portion of the week. We are holding by Parshas Yisro, all about Moses' father-in-law and what he saw, what he heard. Let's say better, what he heard. And 10 Commandments, right? A lot about Jewish people coming to Mount Sinai, hearing the 10 Commandments. So the Torah says, chapter 20, look back to chapter 20, verse 13, it says, you should not kill, should not commit adultery, should not steal, should not bear false witness against your fellow. Right? A lot of things. Here we're going to talk about one aspect. Torah says don't steal. Now, what's it talking about? What type of stealing are we talking about? So, come to more of a Rebbe, a Rav Agon, Ramosh Stormach, this should be well. Brings down in Chochmah V'das, commentary on Chumash. And he says, what's it talking about? Rashi says, it's brought down from the Gemara in Sanhedrin, 86a. What does it mean? Lo signal. It's talking about Gonev Nefashos. What's Gonev Nefashos? Gonev Nefashos means stealing a person, kidnapping. It's not talking about stealing money. It's talking about kidnapping. So my Rebbe asked the question, but you're going to tell me what is stealing in general? Right? There are two types of stealing. There's called Geneva and Gezela. Gezela means you steal, person knows you're stealing from them, right? You force them to give you whatever it is you want. Geneva, what does Geneva mean? Geneva means you steal, the person doesn't know, right? He doesn't know you're stealing from him. So Mary asks the question, but you're going to tell me Geneva, right? Stealing when the person doesn't know. In other words, you're sticking your hand into their, whatever it is, right? Whatever you're stealing from them, they don't know. So how can it be? How can Rashi in the Gemara say that it's talking about kidnapping? Here it says, when we're talking about Geneva, right? Geneva normally stealing is something where the other person doesn't know. Here, if a person's being kidnapped, they know, right? They know they're being kidnapped. So if so, how can Rashi, the Gemara, say it's talking about kidnapping instead of regular stealing, right? It should have been called the Goslin. Should have been called a Goslin over here, right? Because he knows what's going on. So why say it's Gonev Nefashos? He knows. Geneva means he doesn't know. Right? That's the question. That's the question over here. So the Rebbe here says, there is a difference between a Ganav and a Goslin. What's the difference? In order to tell you, stealing, if the person doesn't know, is worse. Right? So a Ganav who steals when the person doesn't know, that's worse. That's worse than a Ganav. Because a Ganav hides what he's doing. And a Goslin, what does the Goslin do? A Goslin is not afraid, not embarrassed. He'll steal right in front of your face. He'll knock you down. Right? Steal your wallet, whatever it is. So that's why the Gemara says, a Ganav who steals and hiding, he's not revealing himself as worse. Why? Because it shows he has more fear of man than he does of God. But stealing a person, i.e. kidnapping, he says worse. It says worse than Gezela. Right? Gezela means you do it in front of their face. Right? But why is it worse? Right? Right? So he says it's worse over here. Because you're doing it with his knowledge. Right? But the reality is, he says, it's still better to call him a Ganav than a Goslin, even though Ganav means you're stealing where he doesn't know. In order to show it's worse. Because the severity of Gezela, you're doing it in front of his face. Right? It's called over here Geneva. Because you're stealing it. Right? But you're doing it in a brazen way. Right? That's what Rabbi here says. So I want to harp on one point, and that is that Rebbe here says that it appears that a Ganav is worse than a Gaza. Because a Ganav, who's he afraid of? He's only afraid of man. Right? He's not afraid, or he's afraid of man more than he's afraid of God. So this needs further clarification. Why should that be? Right? Why should that be? Maybe a person doesn't think he'll get caught. Maybe a person thinks God's not going to see him, or God's too busy. He's too busy running the world, so he's not going to worry about what we do, even though the Rambam brings down the law in the 13 Principles of Faith. God knows the thoughts of man. If God knows the thoughts of man, why would we do things seemingly not being afraid? Right? So it comes down to, I think it comes down to the following point. And that is, even a person believes in God, even if they believe in reward and punishment to a certain extent, what are they going to say? They're going to say, I have a right to free choice. I can make any choice I want. I believe in God. They'll say 100% God gave the Torah to Moshe. So why don't you do what you're supposed to do? Because I get free choice. 100% I have free choice. I can do what I want. The reality is, they don't really believe in God. Why not? Because the other side could say, the fact is, how could anyone ever sin? What do you mean? Doesn't everyone have an evil inclination? Right? The Gemara says God created an evil inclination, but he gave us an antidote. What's the antidote? Torah. Torah's the antidote. But you need heavenly help to fight it. Very good. But if you really understood, there is a God who runs the world, there can be serious repercussions. How can a person not be afraid? How can a person say, well, I'll deal with it then? Or God will understand, or I have free choice. I may believe the Torah is true, but I have free choice. Problem is that if you really believe God runs the world and there is reward and punishment, right? And they don't keep what they're supposed to keep. Let's say they don't keep very many mitzvahs at all, if any. They don't keep kosher, they don't keep Shabbos, other things, right? Let's say, how can they believe God gave the Torah? So again, what's a simple explanation? Free choice. I can believe God created the world, and I can still not keep it. I have free choice. Okay. Right, that may be true. But at the end of the day, if a person really knows, if a person deep down really knows God runs the world, God's in control, God created the world, and he passed everything down to Moshe, then we should be walking in fear every day. So I get it, we have an evil inclination. I get it, we have free choice. But if a person doesn't have a higher awareness that, our actions matter, and not only do they matter, the effect it's going to have or possibly could have later or today, then it means either they're not getting the right message, they're not internalizing the message, or I may go so far to say they don't believe in God. Because if you really believe in what he says, and the fact that he gave us the Torah, and he passed it down, how can you transgress? How in the world can we not coach? How in the world can you do other things? So again, we answered that. We have free choice. I can make a choice to do or not. But if a person really internalized the message, and this is the point, if a person really internalized the message, then the reality is they're going to have to work very hard not to sin. They're going to work very hard, do whatever they can to make sure they don't sin. It's not just, well, I'm going to do what I want and I'll take my chances later. Because how can you say you believe in God? Answer, I have free choice. Right? Come back to the same thing. Right? We're not going to go around in a circle like a bad Freddy Krueger movie. Right? Nightmare on Elm Street. reference. Right? We're not going to go that far. But I think a person's belief in God is very weak. If they believe it all. Because they know I have a real strong belief in God, so why don't you keep it? Why don't you keep what he says? They say I have free choice. I don't have to keep it. But if you really believe, you don't really believe. You don't believe the repercussions. Right? There's a difference. The person's playing Russian roulette. They have a gun. They got a 16.6666% chance. Blowing their brains out, 1 out of 6. They're not going to do it. Why? This is real. Person got a gun, real bullet, puts the bullet in, closes it, pulls the trigger. That could blow your brains out. Yeah. Who's going to take a chance? Nobody. Repercussions later? I'll take that chance. Why would a person take that chance? If it's a 16.666% chance or less, why would they take the chance? Because they don't believe it's not real. It's all make-believe. They don't believe it. If they would believe it like it's fire, they're going to say, yeah, I'll take my chances. I'll put my hand around it. No, they won't. Because if it's real fire, they're not going to do that. They know it burns. Someone will say, everyone would say, I've never met anyone in that world to come back. Let's come back. Okay. But if I know there's evidence, and I can prove the evidence, let's say, a good portion of it, the person's still willing to say, I'll take my chances. Because I have free choice. Again, so what? What if they have free choice? Free choice doesn't matter over here. If you're all in, doesn't mean we don't make mistakes. But we work hard not to make mistakes. If a person's fully in with Torah and mitzvahs, it's a whole different thing. You're living your world on a different plane. If not, I do what I want. Not about the evil inclination, not the evil inclination. You don't really believe. Because if you believed, how could you do it? How could you do it? So Kaufman would say, not very popular to say, but I'll say it anyway, and that is, people will do it for one very good reason. And the reason is they don't really believe it. Because if they really believe it, it's like having a gun in your hand. It's like putting a gun to your head. Would a normal person do that? Never. They're not going to do it. Why not? Again, 1 bullet, 6 chances. I could, 1 out of 6. 16.66666 for every percent. You going to do it? No. Why? Because you know there's a bullet there. You saw it go in. This other stuff, you're going to say, come on. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not true. And if I do believe it's true, so maybe I do have to keep it. But I have free choice. So what? Well, now, you got an obligation. Finished. Why does the person want to keep it? Because they don't really believe. Because if they really believe, they wouldn't take a chance. That's the bottom line. Even if it's less than 16.666% chance. Because the other side will say, yeah, I got, it's 10% chance. I'll take my chances. I don't know if you knew there were 100 doors. And behind every door, or behind 16.666% of the doors is the worst death you could ever face. Whatever it is. You can open the door, you're not going to open the door because you believe it's real. If you don't believe the Torah is real, then yeah, I'll do what I want. You won't even feel guilty. If you believe the Torah is real, it's a whole different ballgame. You live it, you breathe it, you smell it. If you don't believe it's true, then you do what you want. But you can't have it both ways. You can't say, no, I believe 100%, but I have free choice. You don't believe 100%. You don't believe 40%. Because if you did, man, you're going to feel bad what you're doing? I don't know. In this case scenario, ask the question. Even a person believes it's true, but they're going to do all kinds of other stuff anyway. Where's the guilt? Why don't they feel guilty? They should feel guilty if they eat non-kosher. They should feel guilty if they do things wrong. Why don't they have guilt? You know why they don't have guilt? Because they don't believe it. If they believed it, it'd be a different story. Right? Meaning they're all in. They're totally introspective. They believe 100%. Believing 100% is I got to do something. I got to work hard at it. Can't just blow it off and say, well, I have an evil inclination. I can do this, do that. No. If the person doesn't feel guilty, then they're dead. Then they're spiritually dead. Then they're not intellectually honest. Because if you're intellectually honest, you say, okay, it's true, I have to keep it. Don't make excuses why you don't keep it. You have to keep it. So again, what would Kaufman say? Kaufman would say, and again, not popular to say, but we'll say it anyway. If a person makes the claim they believe 100%, God gave the Torah to Moshe, Moshe passed it down to them, why don't you feel guilt for the terrible things you do what God says not to do? Answer, because you don't really believe. You don't believe like you have a loaded gun in your hand. Because if you did, you would not act in such a way. I want to remind everyone that every Tuesday, 9 o'clock Eastern time, I give a class on duties of the heart. Tuesday and Thursday, 10 o'clock Eastern time, 5 o'clock Israel time. I do Q&As. Saturday, 2 o'clock Eastern time, 9 o'clock Israel time. Pirkei Avos, Ethics of Our Father. Sunday, 9 o'clock Eastern time, 4 o'clock Israel time. Book of Leviticus, chapter 16. There's the class Noahide Nations, Noahide Laws, every Sunday, 2:30 Eastern time, 9:30 Israel time. And I have conversion classes. Anyone interested in any of this, find me on Facebook at Michael Chaim Kaufman, or be on Orthodox Conversion and Judaism, or you can send me an email, rabbichaimkaufman@gmail.com, RBBICHAIMCOFFMAN @gmail.com.